Okay guys, for the first part of this video I will be narrating. I thought I was recording live, but I wasn't. We are in DAZ 3D and we're going to work on some Browzwear renders. We're going to work on getting our avatar into Browzwear. Again, I'm going to do this a few times in a few of the videos so that you can really get to see how to import your DAZ 3D avatars or any third-party avatar and some of the tips that I use. So right now I have my stream safe underwear on, the new version, and now I am going to go ahead and just tone down some of the gloss on her skin. But you will see later on that it doesn't matter what you do in DAZ, because Browzwear then treats the skin textures pretty much poorly. I don't want to say poorly. Okay, it treats it differently because everybody does materials differently in their software. So it just adds a gloss to her skin, and it's not realistic of what the actual skin finish settings, because it doesn't have that intense or robust settings. So I'm giving her a folder for her FBX. I'm going to go ahead and export OBJ and FBX, because when you're going to see real quick that I import the OBJ, and when I import the OBJ it doesn't have the textures. When you import the FBX it does have the textures. So at some point I'm going to go ahead and switch it up, and you'll see that I'm just going to go back and switch it up. As soon as you see me import it and she's white, I'm just going to jump to the FBX portion of the video, and then you guys can see what's going on there. All right. But yeah, so it's just a matter of just the material section in Browzwear when it comes to third-party avatars, just kind of catching up to what people are doing in the industry as far as like utilizing third-party avatars for DAZ 3D. Yes, I have to change this back to the DAZ 100%, and just make sure that you keep all of your settings. If you want to save your settings, your export settings for Browzwear, you can go ahead and do that, and that way you could just click it from the drop down menu and then you're all set. But I tend to use a lot of programs and test a lot of things, so I adjust it. But right now I'm gonna go ahead and go to just toggle through my my avatars. Now here's me doing it one by one, and I'm doing the poses one by one, but this is going to be null and void. So I'm going to stop and I'm going to speed this up. Okay, that was just me going through all of my steps and opening up, saving all the different poses in OBJ. I don't really have to, and I use FBX because the textures come in from DAZ 3D a little bit better. Not 100%, but a little bit better. So this is the old one. Let's get rid of her real quick, and we're going to go ahead and bring in the OBJ that we just made, and then you're going to see why it comes in without her textures. Because if you notice, there was no MTL file in the folder, so it doesn't pick up the MTL file that goes with the avatar. So it's just basically bringing in a white avatar, blank, without any materials. So I say yes, but then that's not what I want. So we're going to go back and go to FBX. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and export the FBX and pull it in. I'm going to show you how to do all the anchor points. So the anchor points are basically where the main joint points are. So I just double check because I had this lighting on something weird that I was testing out, and I'm just gonna double check that I'm pulling in the right lighting for what we're doing here, so I can just make sure that I can see the textures. So let's just click no, and then I'm going to go ahead and import my FBX avatar. So just to test out to see if my brain was working properly, I imported back in the same OBJ just to show you that, yeah, there's no textures there. So now let's go ahead and get rid of this, and then we're going to put in our FBX file, and I'm going to do the arrangement points really quick, and that is that. Okay, so hold on one second. Import. And let's just give this time to export out. Okay, be right back. Okay guys, you ever have one of those days? This is my one of those days. I did a whole 30-minute the first section of the video, I thought the mic was on. The second section of the video, I was recording for like 30 minutes. All of my cute and quirky dialogue was not recording. Okay, so now we're back in DAZ 3D. We imported her in as a FBX. I have to do the whole thing over again. So allow me to export. I spelled her name, chopped her name up real good over here. I went through the whole lighting and everything. I rendered and everything. Now we're gonna have to do this again. First of all, we're gonna take out these earrings. Because they don't export well. And then we're gonna go here, we're gonna make sure that everything is selected. Select children. We're gonna have to name her something else. Export. Cameron, Genesis 801. Everything is everything. Now I'll be right back once she exports out. Alright, just so you know, while this is rendering out, I did do 2 renders already. And how do you know where you're rendering? So if you see at the bottom of your screen, there's a little up arrow in Microsoft, in Windows, right? There's a little arrow, and there's a whole menu bar here of all these little icons and stuff. Your Browzwear Connect stays open while you have the program open. So if you click on this little window, you get a dialog box of what is happening behind the scenes. So as you can see, I have one VRay render going and I have one Blender render going. So these may take quite a while. There's no progress bar yet because it is just processing the information. These are 2 really beefy renders, so we will return to that at the end of our scheduled programming. All right, but just so you know where to find your to-do list. Okay, if you want to clear the list, you can clear it. But right there in your Windows, the Browzwear Connect shows up. Okay, and then you can click on that and we'll tell you what Browzwear is doing in the background. Okay, be right. Okay, so we're gonna skip over into our V-Stitcher, and inside V-Stitcher we're gonna go to 3D window, and I'm gonna click on and load a new avatar. We're gonna load our new avatar. The only reason I'm doing that is because I thought I taped the whole thing, and I wanted to talk to you guys about importing avatars. Yeah, here she is. So it comes in in this pose, which is a sort of a glitch, I guess. So what you can do is just take it out of edit avatar. It's going to say you don't have your hanging points. No worries. What we're going to do is go to our original pose, and then we can place the hanging points. If we go to pose 0, then we can go back to edit avatar, right click on the avatar, edit avatar, and then we can go ahead and do her hanging points. So my whole speech about these hanging points is just try to pay attention to, there's a little thumbnail here. You hit control, you hit your point, and then you can go ahead and place it with the control button. Just try to be as accurate as you can, because these things are like where her bone placements are. And once you do that, you can pretty much have a nice transition in your simulations. So this has to do with your dressing. When you're dressing and your avatar is in a static pose changing to another pose, a dynamic pose, then you kind of want it to be aligned, and you don't want any mishaps. So I'm showing this a few times just so you can kind of see my philosophy, because I've done it, I've had to do it a few times. So go ahead and click here on the shoulder. You can see like it's right on the bend of the shoulder. For the left armpit, I try to line that up with this here, right? That's my philosophy. Like, try to get them where they might be one on top of the other in the same place. For the elbow, it's right on the outside, on the bend of the elbow, on the ribs, the left ribs, right here. I toggle back and forth so that I could just get a good view of where everything is. Like this, I might want to move it up just a little bit up. Yeah. So you think where the rib cage is, kind of like the center of the rib cage, a little bit close to the back. Yeah. Okay, some of those renders are coming in. And here we are. So this I try to make in like a line. Also for the leg, I try to make it a line. So it's just so it could be mainly like the photograph, the thumbnail. What they should do here is kind of put the thumbnail of the actual avatar so you can see like where it would be on the avatar instead of this drawing, the drawing from the 1970s. No, just kidding. But it would be nice to see an actual avatar there. Maybe that's one upgrade they might make. Left hip, knee. So all of these are on the outer edge, and again I like to have them all lined up, so when you turn it around, which one is that? That's my knee. See how I have it lined up here, and then I could go to ankle and have it kind of line up there. So what did we miss? Wrist, hip. What is this? Wrist. Okay, I wasn't letting go of the thing there. And then this is hip. So I can kind of see like this elbow might not be in the right place, or the wrist might not be in the right place. So I'm just going to move that over just a bit. And how do I like it? I think we're okay. If we're not okay, you're going to see it. So after we save this, we're going to go ahead and exit out of this avatar. And then what I like to do, since none of the poses are, this one's the one that she came into. So we can just toggle through all of the poses, and that way your thumbnail's set for your poses as you go through each one, so you can identify them easily. And let's just go back up. Pose 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now you got your avatar pose. These lines do not show up. You see them here in the window. These are your texture lines for your model. These do not show up in your render, so don't worry about that. But let's go to our 0 pose. And I'm going to give her this dress that we have here in this file. This dress was made for her, and this is what I mean by the prepare mode. So all of her body parts are looking smooth. There's no janky looking jagged edge except for her feet, but that's because of the high heels. So once we hit dress, she will transpose back into the high heel pose, and that will not be a problem. Then we're gonna let this finish up a bit, and I will come right back. Give me 1 second. All right, we are back, and I'm gonna go ahead and give her a nice animated pose. This one was one that we did the renders in. This video may not be too long for you, but of course I have to wait for all the renders. I have to wait for all of the files to download and upload. So one of the things that I did speak about before is what I use to make my HDR lights. You guys know I have a few videos on HDR lighting. Just make sure she's not colliding on anything. I do use HDR Studio to do my lights. Let me just bring that up for a second. So HDR Light Studio is what I use to make my HDR lights. You can also use Photoshop. I have a video on using Photoshop to make your own HDR dynamic lighting. It all works in Browzwear. So we're going to finish this up, and then we're going to go talk about these lights. So in your 3D environment, what you don't want to do is, I'm going to show you what you don't want to do. Number one, do not just go into your render settings, all right, and save as normal render. Okay, if you're doing normal render, you're going to be going crazy, right? Show the environment. We have just the plain environment on now, but what you're gonna see is that this normal render is gonna be really fast. I'm gonna go ahead and say Cameron normal render. Right, normal render. 1, 2, 3, done. Okay, why is that so fast? Because that is actually rendering what you see in your window. So just how everything looks in your window, that's exactly what you're seeing, what's in your 3D window, and that render takes a few seconds. So kind of like, you know, a thumbnail image of what you're actually rendering. But let's go to some other types of renders. First, let's play with our lights. One of the things that I see a lot of people don't do is they kind of use the normal lights that are in Blender, which is the ambient light. Let's just take a look at that. You have this little icon here. If you click on it, you can see what your ray trace render will look like. And so this is just your regular ambient light. If you want to take off the background and just refresh, you'll see what that looks like. I see a lot of images that look just like this, or with the background, same thing. Right? And that's cool. You got the floor. She's looking like she's standing on the floor. Somewhat, that's one of my discoveries is going to be how to actually make it look like the depth of field is working and that she's standing on the floor. So that is going to be coming up in another video. But let's go through and look at some of these other videos and some of these other lighting options. So right here, nobody has all of these lights. I've just been testing out a lot of different lighting, like 4K light, 2K light, 8K lights, different HDR studios from Photoshop, from download free HDR images on different websites. You're able to get HDRI images, image-based lighting images, and we're just going to go through and look at some of these different options. I'm going to go to Edit Light, so we're going to look at it there so you can kind of see a little bit of what the look is. So this is actually the ambient HDR is actually a scene in the back. Not all of them have a scene, so let's look at one that might not have a scene. Bright has a scene, right? So we can just hit refresh and you'll see the difference with the bright. Let's hit OK and hit refresh. So that doesn't really have any background imaging to it, but you can see the lights there, and it does look a little bright, and that's where you can see the shine on her skin. So one of the things that we're gonna do it from here, is we're gonna edit the lights in here. And let's see if we can have some, yeah. Something just happened. I don't know what happened on my other screen here. Something crashed. Oh God, I don't know what that was. Oh, that was my YouTube. Hold on. My window just closed. Like my browser window just was like, yeah, no, we're not doing it. So let me keep it closed. All right, guys, so that was another screen. Let's go to exposure. Now you can see here, like she's got the shine on her skin. We haven't figured out how to fix that shiny skin thing, but I will. If I want to up it a little bit, let's up it to like 0.1, right? And then you're gonna see the difference when I hit refresh. But I can't hit refresh. I'll have to hit refresh. Close that and hit refresh. So it's just the one, not much has changed, right? So let's do another one. Edit lights. Let's do 0.5. You can see that difference. So this is just using the same HDR lighting that you have, but then you're just giving the computer more lighting to work with. So you're exposing the light, meaning making the light brighter and filling that into your photo. So let's just go through some of the other lights. I'm just gonna do it from here. These are lights that I made. Some of them are like bad and some of them are okay. So we're just gonna go through and you're gonna see the difference. So now I'm gonna hit refresh. So this one I did with the actual background, and I did with a light that comes actually out from another direction, so that wherever she's standing in the center, there's no light directly seen in the background image. So if you go to edit lights, you can kind of see how that came out here. So there are a few different things here, and there's the background here, which is pink. There is an opportunity to rotate this, I think, to, let's do 180. Negative 180 or positive 180. I think it was positive. And see what we have going on here. So you'll be able, so now the background is a little more green, but you got some of the light exposed there. So let's just do a little bit more. So this one was actually cute because you can do a little bit more of let's do negative 90. Yeah, negative 90 might be okay. So you got the light directly in her face, in her eyes, to be able to get some expression. Focus there, and it's a white background for this. So this HDR light had few little options tweaked into it. So let's look at another option. Let's look at something that you can download, something that I could download, like Canary Wharf. It's kind of an outdoor light. And this one also too, you have the option to make it look like she's standing in a scene. So we're going to render one of these out, and then we're going to show you what you can do to enhance it in Photoshop. So one of the ones that I like, and we're going to take a look at that one, is the London Photo Studio Hall, London. This is an indoor light, but it's a HDR image. All of this is HDR, okay? And then she has the sunlight coming from one side. You can kind of give her a little bit of a look here. So we're going to go into Photoshop and do a few magic tricks with Photoshop. But I'm going to come back to this one. I'm going to use this one as an example of adding a little color to the HDR light, but still have like a studio light with just a splash of color. So let's look at that, what that looks like in the edit lights. So I have just a little splash of color on this side here. She's got sort of a spotlight coming at her, which you can see from the side here. If I go ahead and make a change to that, like say I want to go down just a little bit, so -10. Actually, let's do -30. Yeah, that is going to change it quite a bit. And then I'll refresh it. But it's still giving you studio light, but it's just taking that, taking that spotlight to the back. All right, and that is a nice look because you actually notice that your focus now goes to the clothing, not really to the avatar, but now your focus is on like the clothing, which is really good. So you can play around with these, and you could go ahead and make your own if you have your own way to make different lighting. But when you see how the map is laid out, like I have a lot of light coming from underneath from the bottom, and then there's a spotlight that's right here on the other side, and the back is lit and the top is lit. So you see the light on her hair, you see the spotlight that's going more towards her face, and then she's got right next to that spotlight is the green tint that I have coming here. So even if I like took the exposure down a bit, let's take it down, let's make it significant. Right? Okay, so that's more of a studio look, right? So don't be afraid to download different lighting properties in HDR to use them to enhance your renders. That's what this video is all about. And you can get it done. See how nicely now it took just the green, just looks like it's grazing her. You still got the spotlight on the clothes, and you know you can do that. So we're going to render this out. Let's go ahead and talk about some render settings. I could save this image just like this. This is one image here, so I'm going to go render, save, ray trace. So just going to save it out just like that, right? And then I'm going to go to my render settings here. So there are two things that I have going on here. Right now I am in VRay. So here where it says ray trace render, which is what we're looking at here, VRay ray trace rendering. That's what it's going to look like. Okay, so right now we're in the VRay ray trace rendering. The only place to change this is in your preferences. So we're going to do that today. But once I click on the ray trace render and I hit environment HDR, make sure you have that checked. You can see right now my sizing is, actually I'm going to put this up to high. And then my sizing is only 2000 by 2000, which is a square at 300 DPI. This should give me a really good, nice, clean looking render. So we're going to go ahead and click that render. And I'm going to say this is save ray trace. I'm going to say this is render ray trace. Okay. And like I said, down here in your Browzwear Connect, you can see all of the jobs that are being done. Now, nothing's here, so I'm going to clear it, and then we're going to come back. So now you see here, then it starts up again, and it's preparing, and then it's going to go ahead through the render process. So I'm going to close this out, and then we're going to change in our preferences, we're going to go to change this to the blender render, and change it to blender. How do you set this up? Local, right? When you change this to blender, right, there's a help installation here. Fine, simple, easy. All you have to do is go find your blender exe file. So right here I have my exe file from blender 2.83. very important. Blender is always releasing things, so Browzwear has not caught up to the latest 3.0, 3.12, 3.31, I don't know. So Blender right now, the stable version that works with the lifetime version, or the LTS is what they call it, 2.83 is what you would use to use your cycles render in Browzwear. So it's like a plugin sort of thing, but the plugin works in Browzwear to use the cycles engine to render in ray trace. Okay, so here we go. We're gonna have that. There's no render command, you don't need that. Remote blender is another different thing. Okay, this is not what you think it is. And render street, I might do render street real quick just so you can see what's going on, but let's do this right now and change this to blender render. Now I'm gonna change this lighting to, like I said, the studio lights. Hold on, lights, studio, London Hall. So, oh, that's not what I wanted here. And just make sure that you have your environment background set up. So I'm not going to stay in this. I'm going to go to my render. You have two different camera icons here. Don't get them confused. You have two different camera icons. So let's push that back just a little bit. So now my ray trace says local blender because I changed it in my preferences, right? Okay. So now I have a saved blender. So on transparent, it will flip back to transparent, just so you know. If you're trying to render with the background on, I have saved this to be like this. Use light saved in preset. Okay, so I have this saved. I can go ahead and just maneuver it the way that we had it and the other one. And this one I have 2250, 2250, 150. So let's change this back. I'm going to save another one so you can see how to save a preset. I'm going to keep this at 300 DPI, but I'm going to change this to, yeah, see how big that gets? 2000 by 2000. Make sure anti-aliasing is hit. Environment render, include avatar, cycles render 50 iterations. So this is 50 passes, which is pretty good. I don't think you need more than that. You could do more than that, but really I don't think the quality is going to be vastly different. Depends on where you want to show your render in. Right now we're just doing it on internet, on desktop. Right here you want to go ahead and save this. You want to give it a name first. Let's save this as glamorous. Glamour render. Right? Okay. So it saves it whatever you have going on, HDRI, and we're going to save just this one image here. Oh, did I hit save? Save. So I'm going to say this glamour ray trace right now. Alright, so the next thing I talked about is after your render is done, you can go into editing software to enhance your render. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I'll open up my Photoshop. Like, the whole reason we're doing this is so that you can create more dynamic renders, right? Because that's what you want. You want the dynamics, right? So we're going to open up our render. Oh boy, on my computer. I'm going to open this one up with the flowers first. We're going to do both of them. Okay, she looking very, very plastic-ish. So let's give her a little bit of pizzazz. Just changing her brightness and my contrast a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna go to exposure. Subtle changes make it happen. So there's that. Let's save that. File save. We're just gonna save it, and it saved it there. We have this one. This one came out pretty good. This one also came out nice. This is the one that we just edited, and this is the one that you never want to do. Normal render. Oh boy. That's it. So guys, that's our video. Go have fun, play around with your renders, get some things looking really, really nice. You have options, okay? You have options. All right, enjoy. Like and subscribe.